just got home from walking the doggies, and I was about to sit for meditation. Normally I do it the other way around. I meditate first and then I walk the dogs, but I had a bit of a lie-in. So I was listening to one of my energetic mentors sharing on a training, and was absolutely struck with a deeper realization that I've said this many times before, like we say the same things and until our deeper self gets the memo, and the others that are puzzle pieces close to our own will vibe and resonate with some of these messages. This is why I'm sharing. This is why I'm doing these videos. Sharing publicly, like for me to hear it as much as give the opportunity for those nearby pieces of the puzzle to resonate, if they feel to or not. Now this is a very nuanced teaching, so if it resonates, if it strikes, like my experience is, truth is something we feel in our bodies. It hits home in a certain way. So if this rings of truth for you, beautiful, and if not, leave it. But this is the thing that was just brought tears to my eyes, is this realization of the blessing of suffering, because suffering is the doorway to stripping away of another layer of illusion, right? I've spoken before about how pain is the medicine, because pain is the portal to greater pleasure. So often what happens when if I say the term shit goes wrong, it's like the mind has an idea. I want this and not that. I want this and I like to be happy and not sad, whatever it is. Like the mind has this, has these concepts of what it thinks is good and healthy and right and whatever else. And life is just beyond that. Experience is just beyond that, right? Like if you think about it, we tend to, in our human world, celebrate birthdays, celebrate birth, and mourn death, as if they weren't two sides of the same coin. So that I've always found that really fascinating, because that's not when you're born, death is guaranteed. So a celebration, death can also be a celebration of life, if you have this awareness, this lens of beyond the duality of positive and negative, recognizing they're the same. They're actually the same. So it's like we strip away more illusion each time we meet a moment of pain, suffering. It's a stripping away of illusion, and what that ultimately leads to is greater freedom, right? So yes, it is it's an oversimplification to say pain creates freedom, but it absolutely can, if we have awareness, if we meet it consciously, if we know what's happening, right? If we understand, like, and this is where most people don't, because the part of them, the human aspect, and we all have this aspect of us, the inner victim, can get activated and go into woe is me and why me. And I shared a few days ago that I've been witnessing that from a beloved recently, and just holding space for that as tenderly as possible. And it happens to me. Like I'm not I just, in this moment, the examples are not in my awareness, but I will share when they're fresh in my awareness, when it's active in me. The woe is me. But even in the reflecting of like, what catalyzed this project? What catalyzed this project was this massive falling away of people dear to me in my life. That's what catalyzed this, right? So it's like recognizing the death gives creates space for new rebirth, and it's just part of the cycle of evolution. And if we're scared to die, we're scared to be reborn. And if we're scared to be reborn, we're scared to grow and evolve and transform, and it's a painful way to live. So it's like recognizing fear is going to come because it's what the human does, right? Like the human will feel fear when it meets things that are beyond its nervous system capacity. So part of the work that I do, my approach is gently, gently, gently expand the nervous system capacity. Gently, gently, gently stretch our window of tolerance. This is what transcendental brain training is about. Psychologically, somatically, spiritually, understand the spiritual laws of the universe, and then align our human lives to be in sync with that, right? Because this is we are embodying our infiniteness, and part of that is going to necessarily include the pain of stripping away of the illusions of all kinds of illusions, like because I'm just gonna feel into how I can explain this even more deeply, like when one particular, in the absence, there was a lot of feeling of like the inner victim was very active in me in terms of like, how could he do this to me? Like it was definitely the feeling was feeling hard done by. And simultaneously, it was watched and held with awareness of the bigger picture at play. And that's ultimately the space of transformation. Genuine transcendence can come from when we are able to experience fully what's going on in the human. Like, no denying parts of me felt victimized, no denying that, and parts of me felt confused, and parts of me, like, there were I think didn't make sense, didn't understand. And it was also held by an awareness of like, okay, this is part of a bigger picture unfolding. This is part of a bigger picture unfolding. And today, this is the beauty of mentors. Mentors often give words to something that we were feeling but didn't quite know how to articulate. Because I remember I was speaking to someone yesterday, and he was like, and one of the things I shared with him yesterday was people who pursue often just the psychological path, meaning just go the realm of studying psychology. There's often, right, I'm not making generalizations here, but there's well, I kind of am a little bit, but this is what I've witnessed, is if it's exclusively the path of psychological work, so I mean like therapy only, and let me just go and just dance around in the human psyche and explore it from all angles. What they're wanting to do is kind of often avoid pain. Like, let me find a way to not feel the pain. That's why I'm going to therapy, or feel or perpetuate in some ways, like if that's perpetuate the familiarity of the painful childhood. So it's like a reenactment process. And okay, that serves a purpose in a big picture of spirituality as well. But those who choose the spiritual path, often there is what I perceive, and I'm not talking again about spiritual bypassing, there's always exceptions here. I'm talking about integrated spirituality. There's a willingness to meet, a willingness to embrace pain, a willingness to meet pain, a willingness to face fears. So there is a more of a recognition, because there's a recognition of a higher power or a higher self or a higher divine design, whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever words we want to use for the isness of all that is. There is a greater acceptance, maybe is the word I'm looking for. Like in this person's specific example, he was so confused that his friend, who is a therapist, could have gotten so triggered and so dysregulated in the context of a conversation that he was talking to me about. And I was like, what are you confused about? You understand that when we're triggered, we revert into that limited self, that childlike self. What are you confused about? Like, what's confusing about you here? What's confusing about this here? And it was almost this sense of like, but he should know better, or he should have more self-mastery. And I'm like, huh? What? Like, is this you with some expectation that like some moment is gonna be other than what it is? Like maybe you should know better and you should have more self-mastery. Like this is just the work. Like, okay, just that's what happens. Like when we all get triggered from time to time, and there's a maturity. Like, okay, as we increase our emotional intelligence, our bandwidth, our capacity, our resilience, how we handle that trigger often has more capacity, because not only is like the inner child might be screaming, but the inner parent's there to say, okay, I am going to be the intermediary here. But if it's fully in the inner child and there is no inner parent there, and that can happen at times too, for everyone. So this is what's funny to me about these videos. I feel like I just flap my lips for the breeze sometimes, because every truth is but a half truth. And so absolutely everything I'm saying, there's a flip side too, and it's only relevant for a certain moment in time. The flip side is equally true. I talk about that in my book, Enlighten Up, this sense of needing how we are the only ones who know our own context. And because we're the only ones who know our own context, we are the ones who know what's useful and relevant for us. As nobody else can know our own context as fully. Like no other person, right? So the game is rigged where if we're like looking for someone else to save us, they can't. It's only us. We are the ones. We are the ones we've been waiting for. But that's the game, right? Discovering that is the game. So, and that's the beauty in the process of the stripping away of illusion after illusion after illusion. And even when it's you know, it's necessarily designed to be heartbreaking and gut wrenching. Like it's part of the process. You know, we can't avoid that. If we're avoiding that, what we're doing is we're subtly sabotaging our growth. We're avoiding our growth. We're saying, no, I only want to experience these feelings and not these feelings. How are we going to grow when that happens? You know, life will find a way. Life is so our ever present, ever generous teacher. You know, it'll find a way because we need to, especially when we're creating, right? Conscious creators, we need to be able to hold the polarity, hold the opposite. So part of the reason I'm at peace with, I shared a few days ago, I had a investment just, you know, lose like, you know, $1 million loss, whatever. That's fine, because if you can hold the polarity and just be neutral with that, you're then able to receive the opposite amount. Like the I want to be able to articulate this in a clearer and concise way, and it's coming. It's still landing in me. This ability to say it's like it's just part of the process of conscious creation. It is just genuinely part of the process, and it happens because there's like a stripping away right before something, like there's, you know, it's the darkest before the dawn, it's the breakdown before the breakthrough, it's all of that. You know, before we go through a period of not having. And you know, if we can just know that and maintain awareness of that, and not let the human freak itself out with like, oh my god, it's not, you know, this is not what I want, this is like the test from the universe, can you hold this frequency, because this is, you know, you choose in those moments, right? These are where the portals open, and you know, destiny's unfolding in collaboration with the choices that we make with our own conscious will. Yeah, that's my truth for right now, for this moment in time. Yeah. And I've decided I want to be more deliberate about almost. I don't necessarily want, I don't want it to be the energy of commanding, but the invitation. Like, share, and subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. Thank you for being here with me.